Are you sure you're not being watched? Imagine this, you just posted a glamorous photo at your favorite coffee shop, threes. Minutes later, you get a strange message, threes. It mentions your full name, your home address, and ends with a threat, threes. You panic, threes. How did they know you didn't share anything important, but you shared too much, threes? Every status update, every photo, every seemingly harmless story is a puzzle piece. Put together, they form a complete picture of your life, and anyone can complete it if you're not careful. We live in an age of unconscious exposure. Sharing has become a reflex, but that very reflex is putting people in danger without them realizing it. In such a world, Stoic philosophy, not just an ancient way of thinking, but a modern survival art, becomes your compass, threes. It helps you protect the most valuable thing, your control over yourself. 1. Never share personal financial information. In this era of booming social media sharing, wealth achievements and lifestyle is seen as normal, even admirable, threes. Many believe that success should be celebrated, threes. But in reality, such displays can make them targets, threes. People post photos of new homes, cars, and luxury vacations, threes. These images may seem harmless, but actually reveal a lot about one's financial status, threes. Criminals can use them to monitor and plan attacks or theft. A Stoic wouldn't do that, threes. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Let your happiness depend not on the praise of others, threes." Epictetus said it more clearly, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid by others." True wealth doesn't need to be shown, threes. It manifests in resilience, confidence, and the ability to protect oneself from the traps of modern society. 2. Do not share your location or travel schedule. One of the most common and dangerous mistakes today is sharing your location in real time, threes. Many people check in when they're at a coffee shop, airport, or hotel, threes. They believe it's a simple act to show off an exciting moment, threes. What they don't realize is this: they're announcing to the world that they are not home, threes. Criminals don't need to be tech experts to do harm, threes. They just need to follow people who openly share their movements. If they know you're away, they can break in, threes. If they know you jog alone in a quiet park, they can wait, threes. If they know you'll be on a business trip, they know your house is unattended, threes. Stoic philosophy teaches that peace comes from controlling what we can control, threes. Keeping your travel schedule private is a simple yet powerful act of control, threes. Don't trade your safety for attention, threes. The thrill of a like is never worth more than your long-term peace of mind. 3. Do not reveal information about your security system. One of the most overlooked but dangerous mistakes is revealing how you protect yourself, threes. This often comes from a sense of pride. You just installed a smart camera system or bought a new fireproof safe, threes. You share it online as a personal achievement, threes. But what you fail to realize is that you're giving out critical details to people you don't even know. Criminals don't need technical expertise to break in. They just need to know which type of camera you use, where it's placed, or where your safe is hidden, threes. With that information, they can plan quickly, effectively, and with precision, threes. A Stoic understands that true strength doesn't need to be shown off, threes. A truly safe fortress is not the one everyone admires, but the one no one can figure out how to penetrate. 3. Keep silent about what protects you. 3. Because once people know what you have, they begin to think about how to take it. 4. Do not share personal or family weaknesses. There are things you might share that do not lead to admiration, but rather create opportunities for others to exploit you. When you talk about your illness, the fear you're facing, or a vulnerable loved one, you're unknowingly drawing a map of your weaknesses, and not everyone will use that map with good intentions. In many cases, openness is a human trait, but in a complicated world, it can become a deadly vulnerability. A stranger doesn't need force. They only need the truth you offer freely. They will use it to manipulate emotions, intimidate, or harm. 3. Stoic philosophy does not encourage you to shut yourself off, but it teaches discretion in what you share. 3. As Seneca once said, a wise man does not lay bare his wounds to the crowd. 3. Share only with those who have proven they can be trusted. By keeping your weaknesses to yourself, you protect not just yourself, but also the people you love. 5. Do not share information that can be used for identity theft. Have you ever posted a childhood photo with a caption like, "Back in the countryside with Lucky, my first dog," or answered a fun online quiz asking, "What was the name of your first grade teacher?" A piece of memory, a moment of nostalgia, but in reality, these are valuable data points for identity thieves. They don't need to ask for your password. They just need to gather enough small, seemingly innocent bits of information. You casually post your first pet's name, birth date, old school, or your mother's maiden name. The answers you think are harmless are actually some of the most common security questions. With those details, they can access your email, reset your banking password, or create a fake identity to scam others. 3. In a digital society, personal data is an asset, and the danger is this: you gave that asset away for a moment of fun. 3. A Stoic would pause before sharing and ask, is this information necessary? Can it be exploited? Do I truly control the consequences? And from that reflection, they choose silence. 3. Not sharing doesn't mean fear. 3. It's a deliberate, thoughtful, and protective decision. 3. Timely silence is a form of strength. 7. Preserving personal reputation in the digital age through Stoicism. In the digital age, personal reputation is no longer a luxury reserved for celebrities. Everyone now has a public image that others can access with just a few clicks. What you share, what others say about you, even what you like or comment on, all contribute to shaping how the world perceives you. A Stoic does not disregard reputation, but neither are they controlled by it. They understand that reputation, like all external things, is beyond our complete control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Fame is trivial." 3. Those who remember us, who are they, and what will they remember? However, this doesn't mean we should neglect our reputation. 3. Stoicism teaches us to live in a way that is not bound by outside judgment, while still being careful not to invite misunderstanding, attack, or manipulation. Don't use your image to control others. Some people use social media to build soft power, curated posts, idealized personas, crafted to impress or provoke envy. That is not Stoic. That is living through external reflection. A Stoic knows who they are. They have no need for embellishment. Their actions speak quietly, consistently. build credibility, not a facade. A truly reputable person is trusted because of their actions, not their polished online image. Stoicism emphasizes doing rather than saying threes. Don't obsess over what others think. Threes. Focus on doing what's right every day. Threes. Don't react to every attack. In the digital world, judgment comes fast, but you don't need to respond to everything. Epictetus taught, if someone speaks ill of you, live in such a way that no one believes it. Real power comes from calmness and integrity. Accept that you can't control how others see you. You can live kindly and ethically and still be misunderstood. That's unavoidable. 3. Stoics don't try to manage other people's emotions. 3. They only govern their own. 3. Let silence be your reputation. When you don't need to speak too much, people begin to pay attention to the quality of your actions. Sometimes silence is the strongest statement of all. 3. Reputation comes and goes. 3s. But dignity, the way you live, treat others, and uphold your principles never fades. That is what the Stoic preserves. And from that, a natural, lasting reputation will arise. 8. Stoicism at work. Quiet effort, high impact. In today's workplace, where achievement, success, and recognition are often measured by how quickly they're shared, the Stoic chooses a quieter path. Focus on action, not attention. The Stoic doesn't talk about results. They let the results speak. They don't seek validation from others, but from within, from knowing they did their best, did what was right, and did it the right way. Work as if no one is watching. Not for the boss, not for praise, 3s, but for professional integrity, 3s. Stoicism teaches that the real reward isn't others' approval, but the self-respect that comes from doing right, 3s. Don't boast about achievements. Achievements don't need announcements, 3s. Let others notice through your work, not your words, 3s. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, a good horse does not need to boast of its strength. It simply runs well. A good person is the same. Don't get pulled into envy or competition. In work, comparison is common, but a Stoic knows that envy misaligns the soul, 3s. They focus on their own path. They are not shaken by others' success, nor destroyed by criticism, 3s. Remain steady through praise and blame. Whether praised or criticized, the Stoic maintains inner calm, 3s. They don't let emotions rise and fall with public opinion, 3s. If praise lifts you too high, criticism will easily bring you down. That's a truth they live by. Be quietly persistent. No rush to impress, no race for attention. The Stoic chooses consistency, 3s. They work diligently, kindly, like training the mind, 3s. Stoicism doesn't make you less productive. It makes you more focused, more disciplined, less reactive. 9. Stoicism in relationships. Calm within connections. Relationships are one of the most common places where people lose their inner balance, 3s. Expectations hurt, anger, demands, the feeling of betrayal. These things can pull us far from ourselves. For the Stoic, relationships are not arenas to prove oneself, but opportunities to practice patience, compassion, and mental stability, 3s. Don't expect others to always understand you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When someone does wrong, remember they do so in ignorance." 3. The Stoic does not live with the illusion that people will always be rational or kind. 3. They accept imperfection. 3. React less, observe more. When misunderstood, attacked, or insulted, the Stoic does not rush to respond. They step back, observe, and respond only when necessary. They don't let emotions dictate their behavior. Don't use emotions as tools of control. The Stoic doesn't weaponize anger, silence, or affection. They give with responsibility and let go when needed. They love with reason and respect the freedom of both themselves and others. Choose quality over quantity. A Stoic doesn't need many relationships. They need deep ones built on trust and mutual respect. When ending a relationship, do it quietly. No blaming, no clinging, no proving. 3. A peaceful departure is a sign of inner strength. The Stoic relationships are a space to live out one's principles, not to prove one's worth. When you stop letting others define you, you become free. And when you remain calm through the ebb and flow of human connections, you reach a deeper level of maturity. 10. Stoicism and emotional control. Calm in chaos. Emotions are natural and unavoidable, but being unable to control them is the root of most suffering. 3. To the Stoic, emotional control does not mean suppression. It means mastery. They do not let emotions dictate actions. Reason is the compass. 3. Acknowledge emotions instead of denying them. A Stoic does not pretend they aren't sad or angry. 3. They acknowledge emotions, but they don't act on them without thought. They ask, "Is this within my control?" Delay your reaction. When emotions rise, especially anger, the Stoic doesn't react immediately. 3. They wait. 3. They breathe. 3. They take a step back. 3. Because action driven by raw emotion often leads to regret. 3. Analyze the cause of emotion. Negative emotions often stem from false expectations. The Stoic digs deeper. Why am I angry? Am I expecting something from others that they never promised? Train the mind daily. Just like the body needs training, so does the mind. 3. The Stoic practices mindful reflection journaling and reviews their day to improve their response patterns. 3. Accept impermanence. Everything changes. 3. The Stoic doesn't cling to joy or run from sorrow. 3. They live with both as guests that come and go. 3. Emotions aren't bad. 3. But living ruled by them is dangerous. Stoicism doesn't create cold, emotionless people. It creates conscious individuals who act with reason, not impulse. 3. Stoicism in daily life. Slow, steady, purposeful. Stoic philosophy isn't reserved for ancient sages or those seeking enlightenment. 3. It is a practical life method applicable in daily decisions. 3. The Stoic does not live fast. 3. They live deeply, intentionally, and with full awareness of what they do and why they do it. Start the day with reflection. Before beginning the day, the Stoic pauses and asks, "What challenges might I face today? How can I preserve my inner peace?" Mental preparation allows them to face difficulty without being shaken. Prioritize what matters. They don't get lost in the busyness of life. They distinguish between what is essential and what others demand. Every action is deliberate. Curb consumption habits. They avoid chasing consumerism, impulsive shopping, or letting emotions drive financial choices. 3s. Stoics live with enough and feel grateful for what they have. 3s. Practice patience, whether waiting in line stuck at a red light or navigating conflict every moment becomes a training ground for calmness. 3s. A Stoic doesn't avoid difficulty. They see it as a tool for growth. End the day with self-review. Before sleeping, they ask, did I live rightly today? Did I act with reason? What did I learn? Reflecting helps refine the self and maintain clarity. 3s. Stoicism isn't a chain of theories. 3s. It is a way of life. 3s. Every small behavior, every daily reaction is a chance to sharpen the soul so that each day isn't just survived but lived meaningfully. Stoicism and time. Live without wasting it. Time is one of the most valuable assets a person has, and yet it's the one most often wasted. 3s. Stoic philosophy treats wasting time as more serious than losing money because time can never be recovered. Epictetus once said, don't act as if you were going to live forever. 3s. Understand that time is finite. A Stoic carries the awareness that life is limited. 3s. This doesn't make them pessimistic. It makes them present and appreciative of every moment. Don't delay what matters. They don't put off meaningful work due to laziness or fear. 3s. They act when they can, knowing that today is the only real asset they own. Avoid fake busyness. Being busy doesn't mean being effective. Stoics don't overload their calendars. They focus on quality. A productive day isn't full of tasks. It's guided by clarity. They teach rest at the right time. They don't see rest as waste, but as a vital part of sustained energy. The Stoic pauses to restore, not in haste and not to the point of exhaustion. Eliminate unnecessary distractions. They don't spend time on trivial arguments, borrowed worries, or overwhelming noise. 3s. They guard their focus like a sacred resource. 3s. To live stoically is to live with the awareness that every hour, every minute is part of a life whose end is unknown. And for that reason, they do not waste time. 3. They live fully in each moment as if it were their last. Stoicism in decision-making, the power of calm. Every day we face dozens or even hundreds of decisions, some large, some small. 3s. Making the right choice requires not only knowledge but composure. 3s. This is where Stoic philosophy shines. It helps us see the truth of things and choose wisely, guided by reason rather than emotion. 3s. Pause before deciding. A Stoic doesn't rush. They allow space to ask, is this decision driven by fear, desire, or reason? Ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, they don't waste energy. 3s. They focus only on what they can influence. 3s. Let values guide, not feelings. Instead of asking, how do I feel, the Stoic asks, what do I believe in? Values are a compass. Emotions are clouds. 3s. They navigate with the compass. 3s. Don't fear being wrong. They know mistakes are part of growth. What matters is learning from them, not being defeated by them. 3s. Accept consequences. Once a choice is made, the Stoic doesn't complain. 3s. They don't dwell in regret. 3s. They live in the present and take full responsibility. 3s. Decision-making is a skill, but for the Stoic, it is also the art of maturity. 3s. Every choice made in awareness is a strong step toward inner freedom. Stoicism and adversity, growth through hardship. Life inevitably brings hardship. Loss, failure, illness, betrayal, all are natural parts of the journey. The Stoic does not deny adversity, nor do they fear it. Threes. They see it as the best environment to train character and spirit. Threes. Don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? A Stoic doesn't waste time blaming fate. Threes. They shift immediately to action because action is what they can control. Threes. View adversity as a lesson, not a punishment. They believe every trial is a chance to develop patience, resilience, the ability to let go. What brings pain today may be what strengthens you tomorrow. Threes. Maintain dignity even in loss. A Stoic does not let poverty make them petty, nor pain make them bitter. Threes. They hold on to kindness even when life is unkind. Threes. Practice gratitude in the storm, not to deny suffering, but to keep the heart from closing. Threes. A Stoic will always find at least one thing to be grateful for, breathlight or a friend who stays. Threes. Accept reality and move forward. They don't try to undo what's been done. They focus on what can be done next. Recovery begins the moment we stop resisting reality. Threes. Stoicism doesn't make life easier. Threes. But it makes us stronger for the hard parts. Threes. And it is in adversity that our truest, strongest self is born. Threes. Stoicism in success, staying grounded at the top. If adversity tests resilience, then success tests inner strength. Threes. Many stay grounded in hardship but lose their way once they have everything. Threes. A Stoic does not let success bring arrogance or complacency. They know that success is not the end. It is simply a new phase of self-discipline. Threes. Don't equate self-worth with achievement. The Stoic knows you are not your title, your bank balance, or your fame. These things come and go. Your true worth lies in how you live and treat others daily. See success as responsibility, not privilege. Success brings influence. Threes. A Stoic uses that influence to create value, uplift others, not to indulge. Maintain self-reflection. Even at the top, they ask themselves, am I staying true to my core values? Am I falling for the illusion of power? Avoid showiness. A Stoic doesn't need luxury brands, asset lists, or applause to prove themselves. Threes. They let their quiet consistency speak for their character. Threes. Be ready to begin again. They don't cling to glory. Threes. If they lose it all, they still retain their roots. Integrity, awareness, and strength. The Stoic does not fear failure, but neither are they intoxicated by success. They know all external states are temporary. Threes. Only inner stability endures. Threes. Stoicism and inner freedom, non-dependence, non-attachment. All Stoic philosophy leads to one ultimate aim, inner freedom. Threes. It is the state in which no circumstance, no person, and no event can take away your inner peace. Threes. A Stoic doesn't seek external liberty before freeing themselves from desire, fear, and expectation. Freedom begins with control of thought. Epictetus said, "We are not disturbed by events, but by our thoughts about them." The Stoic trains to observe thoughts, believe only the useful and discard the harmful. Let go of the need for approval. They don't need validation to feel worthy, right? They define their own standards and live by them regardless of praise or criticism. Don't depend on material things. The Stoic uses possessions but isn't ruled by them. If everything is lost, their core remains whole. 3s. Freedom is the ability to choose your response. You can't choose what happens, but you can choose how to respond. That choice between anger and calm worry and trust is the clearest mark of inner liberty. Don't be ruled by past or future. The Stoic lives in the present, neither stuck in regret nor paralyzed by anxiety. Only this moment is truly theirs. True freedom is not doing whatever you want. It is not being forced by anything. When you master yourself, you no longer need to control the world because you are already free from within. Stoicism and the art of being alone. Peace in solitude. In a constantly connected world, solitude is often seen as negative 3s. But to the Stoic, being alone doesn't mean being abandoned. It is a chance to return to oneself. 3s. They don't fear solitude because they don't fear silence, right? They use that quiet to illuminate the mind. Know the difference between solitude and isolation. A Stoic doesn't avoid people, but neither do they rely on others to feel whole. 3s. They can be at peace in a crowd or alone in an empty room. 3s. Turn alone time into training time. When alone, they read, journal, meditate, and reflect. 3s. This time isn't used to fill a void. It's used to build inner structure. 3s. Withdraw from noise to hear oneself. The modern world is loud and overstimulating. A Stoic knows that clarity doesn't come from adding more, it comes from removing excess. 3s. Don't seek company out of fear. They don't rush into relationships just to escape emptiness. 3s. They believe if you can't be happy alone, you'll struggle to be happy with anyone. 3s. Cultivate emotional independence. The Stoic doesn't close their heart, but they don't surrender it either. 3s. They love from freedom, not from lack. 3s. Being alone is not a weakness. 3s. It's where strength is grown. And only when you're strong enough to be alone are you strong enough to connect without losing yourself. Stoicism and death. Calmly facing the end. For most, death is terrifying. 3s. But to the Stoic, it is the most natural thing. 3s. They don't avoid it, deny it, or obsess over it. They prepare for it. 3s. Not to be gloomy, but to live more fully each day. 3. Death is part of nature, like leaves falling, water flowing. Humans too return to the source. A Stoic sees death as part of the cycle, no more and no less. Remember death to live better. They often remind themselves that life is finite. 3s. As Seneca wrote, we are not given too little time, but we waste much of it. Keeping death in mind helps them live more consciously. Don't let fear dictate behavior. A Stoic does not fear death so much that they lose dignity trying to avoid it. They live in a way that when death comes, they can go with peace. Leave value, not vanity. They don't obsess over legacy or monuments. They care about living rightly, so that if they go, what remains is the good they did for others. 3s. Death takes nothing of value. It ends the body's journey. 3s. But what is truly yours, your virtue, your way of living, Your autonomy cannot be taken, not even by death. 3s. Accepting death is how the Stoic honors life. 3s. They don't live forever, but they live deeply. And when death arrives, they greet it like an old friend with neither fear nor resistance. Stoicism and the value of silence. Power without words. In a noisy world where everyone races to speak more, share more, express more, silence becomes rare. 3s. But for the Stoic, silence is not absence, it is choice. 3s. It is the highest form of inner strength and self-control. Silence to listen. A Stoic knows that words don't teach as much as observation. They choose to listen more than speak, because listening brings understanding, while excessive speaking often brings regret. Silence to preserve dignity. In the face of insults, slander, or provocation, silence is armor. It shows you are not ruled by others' emotions. Silence to think deeply. Not everything requires an immediate response. The Stoic uses silence as a buffer for thoughtful action. Silence to avoid useless words, Marcus Aurelius advised. If what you're about to say isn't necessary, don't say it. The Stoic knows that many troubles begin with careless speech. Silence to master situations. In dialogue, the one who knows when to remain silent holds stronger ground. They don't speak to prove, because their strength lies in calm presence. The Stoic's silence is not avoidance, it is a conscious choice to protect energy, preserve clarity, and respect both self and others. Stoicism and the art of letting go, liberating the mind. Modern life teaches us to hold on, to achieve, to protect what we have. 3s. But the Stoic learns to let go, not out of apathy, but from deep wisdom. Clinging to what we can't control only brings suffering. 3s. Let go of control over what's not yours. A Stoic doesn't try to control others' feelings, force outcomes, or dwell on the past. They focus on their own actions and accept the rest. Let go of attachment to fame. Reputation rises and falls. 3s. The Stoic lives by their principles, whether anyone sees it or not. Let go of unrealistic expectations. They don't demand people behave as they wish. They love and live with others as they are, not as idealized versions. Let go of blame. Resentment burdens the mind. The Stoic forgives not to excuse, but to free themselves from emotional weight. 3s. Let go even of over-controlling yourself. Stoicism isn't repression. They allow emotions to arise, observe them, and let them pass without identifying or getting swept away. Letting go isn't giving up. It's accepting what isn't yours to carry and liberating yourself from the illusion of control. That is the peak of inner freedom. Stoicism and the value of simplicity, less but deeper. In today's world where everything pushes for more possessions, more experiences, more attention, the Stoic chooses the opposite path. Simplicity. They understand that outer complexity clouds the mind. Only by subtracting can we see what truly matters. Less to see more clearly. By buying less, chasing fewer trends, consuming less noise, the mind finds peace. The Stoic simplifies life to focus on what's essential. Simplify relationships. They don't need a vast network or shallow contacts. They keep a circle of genuine, respectful companions. Reduce desires. The Stoic doesn't live to fulfill every craving. They live to build character, and they know what's enough. 3. Prioritize depth. A simple meal shared with care. 3. One deep conversation over dozens of shallow ones. 3. They value quality over quantity. 3. Simplify thoughts. Don't overthink or dramatize. 3. The Stoic asks, is this worth my concern? If not, they let it go. 3. The simplicity is not poverty, it is refinement. The Stoic lives with less to live more deeply. And in that simplicity they find true wealth, peace, clarity, and freedom. Stoicism and endurance. Strength in the storm. No one escapes hardship. 3. But what makes the difference is how each person responds to it. The Stoic doesn't avoid difficulty. They train endurance as a vital life skill. They view adversity as a chance to strengthen the mind, not an excuse to complain. Understand that suffering is part of life. They are not shocked or angry when challenges come. 3. They are mentally prepared like a warrior, always ready for what may come. Endure without bitterness. A Stoic doesn't let pain turn them cruel or cynical. 3. They maintain kindness even through hardship. 3. Use difficulty to grow. Every time they overcome hardship, they grow stronger. 3. True resilience is forged in fire. 3. Don't exaggerate pain. They separate facts from emotions. 3. They ask, is this truly serious or am I simply reacting too strongly? Calm is power. Composure in adversity is the peak of endurance. A Stoic doesn't scream to prove their suffering. They overcome in silence. Endurance is not passive suffering. It's the active stance of holding steady through chaos without losing dignity. That is real strength. Self-respect is the foundation of a principled life. For the Stoic, the goal is not to impress others, but to stay true to oneself. They live not for recognition, but for consistency with the values they hold dear. Never act against your conscience. Even under social pressure, peer influence, or fear, the Stoic remains firm in what they know is right. 3. They won't trade truth for approval. 3. Don't need praise to feel worthy. They don't depend on others' recognition. 3. They know they're living justly, and that is enough. 3. Avoid self-promotion. A Stoic knows if you constantly have to prove who you are, maybe you're not sure yourself. Confidence doesn't shout, it stands firm. Uphold values even when unseen. They do what's right not because someone is watching, but because they refuse to betray their integrity. Self-respect means being true even in solitude. 3. Never trade principles for success. To a Stoic, success built on self-betrayal is never true success. 3. They'd rather go slowly and stay right. 3. The Stoic doesn't ignore others. They simply don't put others' opinions above their own principles. And it is this self-respect that shapes their calm, steady, and deep presence in life. To many, Stoicism appears cold or emotionless. 3. But in truth, the Stoic chooses to live kindly, not out of weakness, but because kindness is the mark of true inner strength. 3. They control themselves so they don't harm others, even when they have reason or power to do so. Kindness without conditions. A Stoic doesn't wait for others to be good first. They act from principle, not reaction. Don't return evil for evil. When insulted, they don't retaliate. 3s. They know that responding with hatred means letting others control their behavior. Kindness keeps the heart light. Forgiving, yielding, letting go of resentment, not because the other deserves it, but because your own peace deserves it. Kindness is not weakness. A Stoic sets firm boundaries. 3. They say no to what's wrong with calm, not cruelty. Every kind act is a small victory in a world of judgment and hurt. Choosing kindness is brave. 3s. Each small good deed strengthens the soul. 3s. A Stoic isn't kind to gain praise. 3s. They are kind because it is the noblest way to live, even when no one sees it, even when it's not returned. 3s. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, few truly know how to listen. For the Stoic, listening is not just a skill, it's a virtue. 3s. They listen not to reply, but to understand. And in that active silence, they cultivate empathy, calm, and deep connection. Listen to understand, not to argue. The Stoic doesn't interrupt to prove a point. They let others finish because truth matters more than winning. Listening shows respect. When you truly listen, you send a message. You matter. Your story deserves space. Listening helps manage reaction. Instead of reacting impulsively, they observe what's being said and choose the most fitting response. Listen to learn. The Stoic knows everyone can teach us something, even enemies. 3s. They listen not only to allies, but also to those who disagree. 3s. Listening is a quiet act of kindness. Sometimes no advice is needed. 3s. Just calm presence and attentive listening are the greatest gifts. 3s. The Stoic doesn't speak to impress or listen to debate. 3s. They listen to understand others, and in doing so, better understand themselves. And from that silence, they build lasting and meaningful connections. In a world full of distractions, focus becomes a kind of superpower. The Stoic knows you can't master life unless you can master your attention. They train themselves to stay present and not be pulled into what doesn't matter. Focus is a choice. The Stoic knows that every yes is a no to countless other things. They carefully choose what deserves their attention. Remove distractions intentionally. They keep their phone away. Disable notifications and limit social media, not from weakness, but from wisdom. 3s. Attention is a precious asset. 3s. Focus to do well, not to do more. The Stoic doesn't chase multitasking. 3s. They do one thing at a time with full presence. 3s. Protect mental space. They don't let others drain their energy with negativity or unreasonable demands. Focus means knowing when to say no. Create starting rituals. Before deep work, they engage in small habits to settle the mind. A deep breath, an internal reminder, a quiet moment. 3s. The Stoic knows where focus goes, power flows. 3s. And the one who controls their attention controls themselves. 3s. A quiet flame for modern life. Stoic philosophy isn't a blaze that dazzles, it's a steady flame. 3s. Quiet enough to warm the soul, enduring enough to withstand the storms of life. In a chaotic, noisy, and fragile world, Stoicism is the compass for the soul, the shield of dignity, and the root that keeps you grounded. You don't have to be a philosopher to live stoically. Begin with small things, a moment of silence each morning, one held back reaction. A kind deed done without witness. A sincere question to yourself before making a choice. 3s. And through days lived in awareness, you don't just learn to survive. You learn to live with strength, serenity, and depth. You don't have to change the world. You only need to master yourself. And that is the Stoic's greatest victory.